Hi friends, and welcome to our studios. I'm Pamela Matassa in Ascension Parish Government. And in 2024, back at the beginning of this year, my good friend James LeBlanc started his 38th year as a volunteer fire chief in Ascension Parish. He currently serves over 2 volunteer fire departments, Santamont and Darrow.
Yeah.
And you hold so many hats here, as I've mentioned before in a previous segment, the chairman of the Ascension Parish Fire District Number 1.
That's correct.
And that's what we're going to talk about today, is a little bit about the fire departments, what they do, where they're located, the volunteer fire departments in our community. Thanks for coming on the program again, James.
Such a beautiful community, such a beautiful site here. I mean, I'll tell you, we're blessed to just be able to sit here and talk about the great things that are going on in Ascension.
38 years.
38. I never.
So what in the world? First of all, what made you start 38 years ago?
So
how old were you?
So when I started in the fire service in Ascension Parish, I was 13 years old. My daddy was fire chief in the Prairieville community, and this is unheard of in today's world. But I became a fire chief in Ascension Parish when I was 19 years old. I'm 57 now, so it's if somebody would have told me at 19, hey, look, you're gonna be a fire chief, and you're gonna be a fire chief for a couple of years, and then you're gonna ride off into the sunset, I never would have believed in my life that after 38 years I would still be a volunteer fire chief here in Ascension Parish, which is the fastest growing parish in the state of Louisiana, and I'm just ecstatic that my family has put up with it for this long. My wife and I have been married for 37 years, so my wife has known no other life other than me. I don't even know if my wife would stay married to me if I wasn't fire chief, because it's the only life she's ever known.
All right, I don't want to get a little bit personal with you here, but when I understand that, like, next to your bed, you've got to keep some devices, and not the kind of devices you might be thinking. I'm talking about like noise-making devices that go off in the middle of the night, let people know, to alert you. What happens? How does this work?
People like volunteer department, so most calls take place after midnight.
Of course they do.
We would love for 90% of our calls to take place before we go to sleep, but 90% of our calls take place after we go to sleep. So yeah, the phones go off. When we first started, we didn't have cell phones, so your home phone would constantly ring until you picked it up, and it wouldn't stop ringing until you picked it up. So back then, I'll say back then, but 38 years ago, we didn't have radios. We didn't have a beautiful dispatch center like we have now. So your home telephone, how many people got home telephones now? Your home telephone would just ring, and you would pick it up, and you couldn't talk to nobody, but you would just listen, and they would tell you where the call was. And once you hung up and you got into your vehicle and responded, you didn't know what you were going to get when you got there, because you didn't have radios. So yeah, 38 years has been a blessing.
Volunteer fire department.
All volunteer.
Tell me a little bit about the makeup of the volunteer fire departments in our community.
So most people don't realize, but if you live in the Galvez area, if you live in the Santamont area, if you live in the Darrow area, the Geismar area, or the 7th District community, which is around Highway 44 and Black Bayou, and of course the Sorrento area. Many people don't know these are all volunteers. So even though Sorrento is a city, their fire department is all volunteer. So Ascension Parish is made up of about 6 volunteer fire departments, 250 to 300 volunteers, and respond to over 5,000 calls a year just in the volunteer area. So very, 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 very blessed. And in this day, you hear it all the time. You pick up social media, you pick up the newspaper. People say the world of volunteerism is going away. For some reason, Ascension Parish over the last 40 years, 50 years, has been blessed that our volunteers just keep volunteering.
Now, one of the things that impacts people, especially on their insurance, homeowners insurance is what I'm talking about, is how the volunteer or how the fire department in your area is rated.
That's right.
And every fire department is giving a rating. And because the people who live in the one of these fire district number 1 volunteer fire department areas, their rating can only be a maximum of X,
That's
right?
Yes.
Because it's a volunteer fire department as opposed to a paid fire department, which impacts your home insurance rating. Is that right?
You are
rate of pay.
100% right. So what happens is Property Insurance Association of Louisiana comes in every 5 years, and they rate your fire districts. And whenever I say rate, they make sure you're doing your pump test records. They make sure you're doing your hydrant records, which half my career we didn't even have hydrants. Now we're starting to get hydrants. They make sure you do all your training. They make sure you do all your hose test records. They make sure you got all the required equipment on all the trucks. Excuse me. So what they do is they come in for like 4 days, and they go through all the fire departments. They go through all the trucks. They go through all the stations. They go through all the record keeping. So even though you're a volunteer fire department, you still have to do every single thing that the paid departments have to do so you can get a better rating. So the rating is simple, 1 to 10. Your goal is to be a 1. Baton Rouge has been blessed for the last 20 years that they've been a rated number 1. All right. Gonzales over the last 5 years has become rated a 1. The Prairieville community, which my whole entire life was volunteer, and a couple of years ago they formed their own little fire district and they passed a tax over there. They're a rating of a 2. So what affects that? Water, manpower, and equipment. All right, so that's what affects your rating. So your goal in life is to always get closer to that 1. So in my 38-year career, I've seen us at a 9. I've seen us at an 8. I've seen us go several years as a 7, and I've seen us go many years as a 5, and then lo and behold, last year we made it to a 4.
And that's a big deal because you're volunteer, so you can only probably make it up that totem pole.
So volunteer fire departments, to make it to a 4 somewhere. Now we're closer to the 3 than we are to the 5, but it's all because our volunteers are training. It's all because we're buying the right equipment. It's all because we have the right people, the right equipment. And look, we got hurt pretty bad. Ascension Parish got hurt pretty bad in the volunteerism world in 2016 when the flood hit.
Sure.
You know, the great flood that nobody even knows what to call it because it didn't even have a name.
Right.
But keep in mind, it took out half of our volunteer fire departments in Ascension Parish. So from 2016 to 2024, we have built brand new fire stations in the Santa Maria community, Geismar community, Galvez community, Sorrento community. Now each one of these fire stations were anywhere between $2.6 to $2.8 million. None of that was FEMA money. None of that was money assisted by the federal government. That was all money that over the years we saved. And then when the great flood of 2016 hit and we lost all these buildings, thank God we didn't lose all our equipment. Why we didn't lose our equipment? Because we moved it 27 times during the flood, because every time the flood waters would head somewhere else, we would all run over there and get in the trucks and go move them somewhere else. So thank God we didn't lose all that. But we had to build new fire stations in just about all of our communities.
So right now we're reaping the benefits of what happened as a result of the flood of 2016.
That's right.
I mean, I don't know that you can really say that, but really we have all these new fire departments.
Yeah,
and so because of our ability to respond, the number of volunteers, how is that picking up? You said we have how many?
So right now between the 6 volunteer fire departments in Ascension Parish, we're averaging anywhere between 250 to 300 volunteers. And that fluctuates a little bit. You know, I guess the best way to describe a volunteer is, you know, they don't really have the time to volunteer. They just make the time. You know, that's the best way to describe them. They just make time. You know, I can tell you that the life of a volunteer firefighter, every day he's eating supper with his family, or he's going into a movie theater, or he's going into church, or he's going to visit his mama and papa, or his mom and dad, and there's not a time that that doesn't happen, that his phone doesn't go off for some kind of medical call, some kind of fire call, some kind of major wreck, some kind of heart attack, or the biggest thing that's been affecting our community, and we'll talk about that on another segment, is the amount of overdoses that are taking place in our community.
Yeah, that is going to be something that we're going to spend a good bit of time on. Unbelievable.
Topping the charts of what's happened in the emergency response world. But these volunteers are eating supper with their family. They're taking showers and getting ready to go to bed. They're going to Sunday church, and every single day there's some kind of incident that happens in our parish that takes these people away from their family to respond.
And they're doing it for free.
And they're doing it for free.
Over and over and over again.
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about our first responders, and God bless every single one of them. And then to put your life on the line on a regular basis and to voluntarily do that. And for you, for 38 years, and see so many men and women of all different ages and backgrounds come through the doors of the volunteer fire departments that you help to oversee. That's pretty awesome stuff.
Yes, and it's just, many people think that with the 6 volunteer fire departments we have in Ascension Parish, they think maybe, well, these guys, they don't get along, they love each other, and they take care of each other. And so imagine this, every time a structure fire takes place in Ascension Parish, no matter where it is, not one department goes. Sometimes 2 and 3 departments go. So if we have like a major fire that takes place in San Amant, we getting help from 7th District, we getting help from Sorrento, we getting help from Galvez. And a lot of times, you don't even have to call these people. They just show up. And it's like, it's just a blessing. So I keep saying this because I've been doing it for my whole entire adult life. It's like, what are we going to do when the volunteers quit volunteering?
What are we going to do, James?
That's right. What are we going to do when the volunteers get tired and quit volunteering? And so
how do you make it no longer a volunteer fire department?
So it has to be, we have to do like Prairieville did, or do like Gonzales did. They passed some type of a millage or some type of a tax in their area that made that assisted their people to go full time. We haven't had that issue yet in the volunteerism world, but it's only going to be a matter of time
before that's going to happen.
I don't know if it's going to be in my lifetime, but it's only going to be a matter of time where people just are tired and wore out, and
well, God bless you though, James, for what you do, and all the people
don't realize, Pam, that 2 o'clock. Imagine this: 2 o'clock in the morning, somebody's house catches on fire in the Sorrento, San Amant, Galvez, 5th Ward, 7th District area. They don't realize that. First of all, the phone has to wake them up. Now, my phone is usually on silent. And so the phone has to start vibrating, and you have to wake up from a dead sleep, and you have to look at it. Structure fire in the San Amant community. These volunteers have to get up. They have to get dressed. Back in our younger days, we would have our clothes ready for us. The older you get, your clothes ain't ready for you. You stumble around trying to find clothes to put on. So then you get in your personal vehicle and you drive to the fire station, get out of your personal vehicle, get into the fire truck, and then respond to the people's house. And then you fight fire all night long, because sometimes these structure fires are 4 and 6 hours long. Then you go back to the fire station and you put new hose on the truck, because the hose that you used, you can't put it back on the truck because it'll mildew, because it's all wet.
So by the way, you've probably missed a day's worth of work.
Right.
You've had to probably take a vacation day or something.
Most people do. So if you're up all night long fighting fire, taking care of the community, go back to the station, re-rack the truck, then you go home and take a shower and go work your regular job all day. And the people at your regular job will say, man, you look tired. You look wore out. What's wrong with you? They don't know you've been getting your tail kicked all night long fighting fire. So
it's unbelievable what y'all do. And before we close out this segment, how do people find out more information about becoming a volunteer firefighter? And is that something that you do just one time of the year? I mean, I know that we've got trainings that we send people on trainings like in Texas and other places, but can people volunteer at any moment in time? What does that training look like?
So I think most people don't understand that you don't have to fight fire to be a member of a volunteer fire department. We have people that cook for us. We have people that bring coffee and water to us whenever we're fighting fire. So if you watching this segment on the best Ascension Parish TV show ever, Channel 21, and you thinking, man, I really want to help my community, but I don't want to fight fire. I don't want to put that gear on. I don't want to put that SCBA on. I don't want to put that breathing air. I don't want to do that, but I want to help. There is room for everybody in the volunteer fire department world. So if you live in the Galvez community, you go to that Galvez Lake Fire Department on Joseph Ariel Road. If you live in the Santa Mall area, you go to Stringer Bridge Road. You live in Sorrento, you go to John LeBlanc Boulevard. You live in 7th District, you go to Highway 44.
Is there somebody at those fire departments?
Yeah, so mostly, of course, they're all volunteer, and of course, I didn't want to leave out 73, the Gosmer community. But everybody got a Facebook page. Everybody got a website. Everybody got a fire chief in those communities. There's a way to get a hold of somebody. So look, don't see me on the street and say, man, I've been trying to volunteer, but I can't find nobody. You can find us. We in the community every day.
And of course, James LeBlanc also serves as the Governmental Affairs Director for us here at Ascension Parish Government. And if you have any questions and want to talk to him directly, all you have to do is reach out to him. You can go to his email. You can email him. He responds, james.leblanc@apgov.us, or go to your local volunteer fire department where you can find out more information and sign up to do something. You can do anything to help your fellow firefighters in the community. Thanks for coming on the program, James.
Our motto is our family, always helping your family. That's what we want to do. And that's what the volunteer departments in Ascension Parish do. And we work very well with our paid departments too. And get out and volunteer and take care of your community.
The man who never sleeps, James LeBlanc. Thank you for watching Ascension Parish 21, and we'll be back with more after this.